What excited me to start using the AGENT drug-coated balloon is obviously it's the first FDA-approved DCB for use in the United States. And we see a lot of in-stent restenosis across the country. At least 10% of cases that are treated are restenotic cases. These can be difficult cases. These can be cases with multiple layers of stent in them already. And to be able to have a device I can treat these people with that doesn't leave any extra metal behind is a breakthrough, and it's effective, and it's very helpful. And in fact, through the trial, we have built a referral network of docs who need patients with in-stent restenosis treated, those who have, as I say, many layers of stent. And so we have those patients coming up through our practices, but we also have them coming in from all over DFW, as well as Southern Oklahoma, Louisiana, and all over the Southwest. So this has given us another tool in the toolbox that we need to treat some of the most complex patients that we see. In terms of integrating it into our daily workflow, we use it still mostly, almost only for in-stent restenosis. And the reason we do that, A, is because of the data that's come out, but also because of the reimbursement issues, and it's an expensive device, and we're still waiting some of the reimbursement for it. But essentially, all of our in-stent restenotic patients are now being treated with drug-coated balloon if we can get an optimal balloon angioplasty result. So this has become a workhorse part of our everyday routine for how we treat restenotic patients. And all of the operators with me at Baylor know that it's on the shelf, and they're not afraid to pull it and use it. So it's a regular part of the daily arsenal for fighting the coronary battle. AGENT has been a big impact in the quality of care. Right now, as I was mentioning earlier, primarily for restenosis. We all know that these patients, some of them that are, you could call them restenosers or whatever you want to call them, often continue to come back again and again and again. And to have to put more metal inside a previously placed stent, every layer of metal shrinks the inside a little bit more and more. So for me to be able to treat a restenotic lesion with an atherectomy device, a cutting balloon, a non-compliant balloon, get the result that I need, and then paint that with paclitaxel to help keep it from restenosing is a major step forward. So to have that has been a huge impact on what we can do for our patients. In terms of outcomes, this DCB's not been on the market for too long, so we haven't seen too many of those patients back for a repeat angiogram. But what I can tell you is, for example, patients that have 2 layers of stent through a Lima graft to the LAD that obviously aren't a re-op candidate and obviously don't need more metal put in their LAD are being sent to me from guys in East Texas and whatever who don't have any option for how to treat these patients. And the patients are ecstatic to know that we can take them in, fix this coronary without putting more metal in it, get them back to feeling good, and let them go on their way. The biggest testament is for a lot of these patients that we've done, and we put 30-something patients in the trial, and I've done dozens of cases since the AGENT balloon was approved. I've not had to see any of these patients back to retreat them. Now, that's not a randomized controlled trial, and that's not angiographic follow-up, but the fact that these, what you might call frequent flyers, have not been in so frequently is a major step in the right direction. I would say any interventionalist that does the kind of cases that we do, that we in the trial and that we that are using AGENT do, know certain names that show up on the CAS schedule that don't have to be announced, and we don't have to read their histories, because when we see their names, we go, okay, I know them, been here before, done that before. Well, when you don't see that many of those names coming back, it's a powerful reinforcement that something we're doing seems to be working. Recommendations to other physicians using AGENT. There are some very, very important messages that came from the trial that we who participated in the trial both knew and also learned and had reinforced during the trial. And that is that lesion prep is of paramount importance. The lesion has to be treated appropriately. And an integral part of lesion prep is imaging. You have to image these patients. You have to image them with a good visualization device, whether that's OCT or high-def IVUS. You have to define the mechanism of restenosis. You have to assess vessel size. You have to assess if your stent is appropriately expanded or appropriately sized. And you have to get a good angioplasty result before you can treat with AGENT. The AGENT balloon, and I'm the one that coined this term actually, is a paintbrush. The AGENT balloon is not a workhorse balloon. The AGENT balloon is a paintbrush. You do your work with everything else. You image it. You make sure your sizing is appropriate and your treatment is effective. And then you paint with the AGENT balloon so the paclitaxel can do its work. That's the message that has to get to other operators. Treating in-stent restenosis is not easy. Some may think it's easy, but we see a lot of calcium, a lot of underexpanded stents, a lot of inappropriately sized stents, a lot of underexpanded stents. All those things have to be addressed before you can paint with a DCB. That's the message, I think. For accounts that don't have access yet, I think to a certain extent, you have to be patient. Everybody wants the technology. I know Boston Scientific is rolling it out in as meaningful and rapid a way that they can. In terms of how to prepare for this, one, get your imaging capacity up to speed, get used to imaging cases, get used to treating your in-stent restenotic cases without putting a new stent in. And then, unfortunately, the truth is you're just going to have to wait a little bit. If you really have cases that badly need treatment with a DCB, I would say rather than putting an additional layer of stent in those cases, I would consider, at least for the short term, sending those to a center that's using DCB, because that's going to be the optimal result for that patient, and you're going to get that patient back, and very likely you're going to have the opportunity to do more work in that patient. So be patient, use your imaging, may have to phone a friend. How is AGENT going to evolve? Where are we going to use it? There's many places to use it as you can come up with ideas to a certain extent, but the real answer to that is we need data. We have to do the clinical trials that give us the data to where it works. If I'm guessing, and there are a host of other DCB trials ongoing right now that are going to help teach us in addition to AGENT, I think we're going to find a use for DCB in general in small vessels that are under 3 millimeters. A lot of us prefer not to stent those. I think we're going to find a use for DCB in areas that we don't want to put metal to leave options for a bypass graft. So let's say, for example, we have a segment that's diffusely diseased in the mid-LAD in a younger patient or a diabetic patient who's going to be at risk for needing bypass surgery down the line. What if we could treat that mid area of the LAD with a drug-coated balloon, leave no metal behind, leave that area hopefully treated, amenable to receiving a Lima graft if it needs to be treated later, and we've kept options for that patient going down the road. Another example, I treated one patient, nice big patent LAD stent, big diagonal coming through the side of the LAD stent. I didn't want to stent the diagonal and potentially jumpstart restenosis in the LAD stent, which had been in for years. So what did I do? I IVUSed the branch. I used a cutting balloon to dilate it. I painted it with a DCB, got a great result. Side branch access, that's another area where we might use DCB. CTOs. Do we want to put dozens and dozens and dozens of millimeters of stent throughout an entire vessel? Or might we just stent the worst part, the worst occlusion in a vessel, and use DCB more distally to treat more moderate diffusely diseased segments of that vessel? And that's part of what gets done in Europe now. So those are some of the places I see potentially opening uses for a drug-coated balloon. And the more data we can gather and the more randomized and investigator-initiated trials we can put forward, those things are going to teach us where and how to use DCB and where it's most effective.